All right, today we're taking a look at the Valve Index. Hey everybody, and welcome back. So I'm finally getting into my Valve Index review. In preparation, I've actually watched a lot of other coverage just to see what other people's opinion was. And I'm actually falling in line with the majority of people. I have the same complaints and the same overall opinion. So I'm gonna do my best to cover a few topics that I think haven't really been covered yet, and I'm also gonna compare it to all the other headsets that I am familiar with. Now, I actually wanna start with the bad stuff. Get right through that. I'm sure you guys have heard some of these things before, but I just wanna breeze through those, and then we can go into how I truly feel about this product and how it rates in comparison to all the other headsets out there. Anyone who has stated that the contrast level in this device is not as good as other devices, especially like the Vive Pro, is a 100% on the money. The black levels are not that deep, and there is significant God rays and glare on this device. Now, for me personally, it's not a big deal. I don't find that the black levels are an issue, but again, that could come down to the games you play overall. Like, I don't play Elite Dangerous, so glare and black levels are an issue for me. Overall though, the fidelity is fantastic, so that hasn't been a big issue. Glare and God rays you'll see during when you log into a game and you're looking at logos. Fine, that's never bothered me. However, I did notice, I watched the movie in big screen and there was so much glare coming off the avatar's hands that I actually just took the hands and tossed them away. First I changed them to the darkest shade possible, and then I just moved them. Because there was a lot, so like the bottom of the screen I was seeing glare off the hands, which was pretty annoying. But that's the only time it really broke the immersion for me. So contrast, yep, they're on the money with that. Now overall, that's the biggest flaw for me. Then there are some other disappointments, but I wouldn't say they're major issues. Now there have been reported issues with the controllers. Some people, have tracking issues, but I think that comes down to not expressing how important calibration is. Just doing this and getting it set up makes a huge difference. I actually have to take my ring off or this finger doesn't track right. I guess it is what it is. Overall though, the controllers are cool, but their implementation in game is basically cosmetic. Like, I've found the most fun thing to do is in Space Junkies, give people the middle finger and they get really confused, and you see people with like Oculus controllers trying to figure out how you did that gesture, and they're pressing keys. But overall, it hasn't added much, so these really need to be implemented better. Also, I thought they would be a bit more seamless. You go in and you have full customization in Steam on how you want this to handle, and there is a default binding that will take over for the wands. But I turned on Rec Room and it said, oh, we didn't find the controller binding, which is like, well, what's that? So I had to go into settings and find it, and I actually manually set one, which is the only time that happened, but was weird. So they weren't as seamless as I thought, and people are complaining about the thumbstick, which I actually have that issue. At an extreme angle, even though it's making a click sound, it's actually not registering. And I noticed this in Space Junkies. So if I'm strafing all the way to the left and I want to boost, clicking in is boost, it doesn't register. So I've been compensating by pressing the stick on the other side, because I rarely have the right hand stick at a extreme angle. So it really hasn't ruined my game, but yes, I do have that issue that people are reporting. Now, there's rumors flying back and forth or official statements from Steam saying, no, that's on purpose. I don't know. It's not a huge issue for me. Also, the trackpad, I don't know Valve's insistence on having the trackpad. It feels like there's no need for it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Hopefully in the future, Valve implements this controller like to the best of its abilities, and then other companies go, oh, that's how you do it, and then this controller really shines. But right now, the controller it's miles ahead of this thing. I hated this thing to the point where I added one of these to try and make it decent. But, it's miles ahead, but it was a little bit of a personal letdown. And the same thing when it comes to the increased hertz on the screen. I didn't see a major difference with 120 hertz. Now I'm running FPS VR just to see what my frame rate is, and in a lot of games I'm actually hitting 120 frames per second, but overall I don't feel like it's a huge difference. I thought it was going to be because this only runs at 72 hertz and I feel that. It's one of the things, like it doesn't feel as fluid and it's real to me. And that's one of my biggest complaints about this is the Quest. So that's one of my biggest complaints. So I was expecting, because from 72 to 90, I feel like the difference is really big. But from 90 to 120, I see it, but not much. It's very subtle. So those are my overall disappointments with the Valve Index. Moving on to where it shines is, well, from the second you take this out of the box, it screams premium product. Everything from the build quality to the materials used. This is not the same like soft cotton that you'd have here, which soaks up sweat. This is pretty resistant to sweat, and you notice like attention to detail, like how quickly that pulls out. So this screams premium product, and it plays like a premium product. To date, this is my best VR experience, and that is taking into account the fact that this is an untethered PC VR. I have the wireless adapter. I don't consider it wireless because it's still trapped here. I consider it untethered. I can't move this around the house. It's got to stay in this room. This is a truly wireless device. And I'm willing to say, screw it. I'm okay with the tether because the fidelity on this is just so much better. The screen door effect and the actual clarity. Part of the clarity for me comes down to the manual IPD adjustment, which this has a greater range. This goes down to 58. This one will not let me go down lower than 61. A much bigger sweet spot for me. Now, comparing this to this, comfort on the head is almost as good. I find this better. I'm not actually using the back insert. There's a really plush back insert that if you want more padding or you have a small head and it doesn't fit well, you can put that on. But I'm not using that because I don't want to be wearing a helmet, which was a complaint I felt like this is. It's very comfortable, but it feels like you're wearing a helmet, traps all the heat in, and I cannot wear this for a long period of time. So clarity and comfort, but comfort really comes down to heat. This thing lights my face on fire, which is a complaint I've heard about this, but I've had this for 2 hours. I've played games for 2 hours and I'm fine. My face is not hot at all. I've put my hand on the front and I go, oh, there's a little bit of warmth there, but that's the front. And as long as my face feels fine. This thing on the other hand feels like tanning. Honestly, it feels like I'm going to a tanning booth and just heating up my face. And how much of that can you take? After 15 minutes, if I'm playing a game where I didn't break a sweat, so I'm playing a puzzle game or something, my face is just on fire. If I'm playing something that has me sweating, that layer of sweat kind of helps dissipate the heat, and I don't notice it as much, but even then, like 45 minutes is my max in this thing, until I'm like completely uncomfortable. So comfort is huge, especially when you compare it to something like this. Again, I could stay in this for a long time, but you put this on and you're like, it feels like hard plastic on your head. And the difference is striking, but this, I've worn this for an hour and a half and really wasn't, frustrated or in pain or anything. I almost forgot to mention the increased FOV on this headset. While it's not a huge increase, it's done flawlessly, there is no distortion, and that little bump makes a huge difference. No longer do I feel like I'm wearing scuba gear when I'm playing VR games. You're just much less likely to notice the edge of the screen, and it really contributes to immersion. So, overall, first step, it is a premium product in every regard. The sound is a step up. Again, I like these off-ear speakers because one, they sound great, and two, it's one less thing just making contact with your head. The helmet effect that this thing has. You have your ears covered here, you have the plush from the wireless adapter here, you have foam all around, foam on your face. So this is the helmet of heat, and then the Fireball LCD, OLED screens, the Fireball OLED screens, which they are much better in black levels. Honestly, people are saying the glare and God rays are worse on that. I kind of feel like glare is worse here only because the contrast level is much higher. And this has great blacks, but that's it. Clarity, way better. Just to compare these products for a second again, this is still listed. The full kit is listed at $1,098, so $1,100. And this is only $1,000. So this is a completely overpriced product because it comes with, you know, the old ones, and it does come with Tracker 2.0, but again, 10% more for this product that I feel is completely inferior to this product. I would never recommend the Vive Pro to anyone. So just to be clear, I feel like this is a step up in every regard compared to this product, except for when it comes to contrast and God rays. Everything else is a huge improvement for me. The clarity is unbelievable, and the comfort level difference is huge for me. Now that's a bit subjective, and you guys would have to experience both, but overall, I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna use this product again. So where does the Oculus Quest fit into the mix comparing these? Well, there actually is a real place for this, and that's something I discussed in my Oculus Quest versus wireless Vive Pro video. You get features with this that you absolutely don't have with that. And if you're gonna compare things like fidelity and sound quality, obviously this is gonna blow this out of the water. So we really should be taking a minute and comparing more the Rift S. The Rift S is probably good enough for most people. Is this product 2.5 times better than the Rift S? And that's a really tough one, because a lot of it is subjective and your needs and what your budget is. The majority of people, I think, will be completely happy with the Rift S. I did not consider getting a Rift S because it does not have a manual IPD adjustment, and that was one of my huge complaints with this, is I couldn't get this to a value that had the sweet spot for my eyes. Everything is still blurry in this. And when I got this device and I found the sweet spot, I said, wow, what have I been missing? I mean, this screen is great. The clarity on the screen is great, but the fidelity in games due to the mobile hardware isn't great. So if you're in that range that these, you know, the software IPD adjustment for the Rift S works for you, it might be, you know, good enough for you. Again, also, most people don't have a PC that's gonna push 120 frames or even 144 frames at high settings in VR. A lot of people don't have that type of machine. So is this for everybody? Definitely not. There is still a place for a cheaper PC headset like the Rift S, because in most regards, it's probably good enough for most people. And there's obviously a place for this, because to give you a perfect example, I had family over this weekend. I had 2 young nephews, and they wanted to play VR, and I didn't have to, you know, turn on my computer, plug it in, worry about them hitting the tether with anything. All I had to do is, you know, go to any area where there was enough room, show them how to set up the Guardian, and say have at it. And they drained the battery twice, 2 full battery drains in about a day and a half. So that's 8 hours they played this thing. And like I said, that's perfect. And some people, it's just, you know, it's just about the fun level. They don't really need that ultimate level of fidelity. So, you know, this product definitely has its place, and it's a great $400 product. And I can say the same for the Rift S. When you talk about the controllers, again, for me personally, these are good enough. I would be happy to play my Steam VR games with a controller just like this. This is good enough for me. Tracking is a different issue. Now, they said the Rift S, the 1.39 update has vastly improved the tracking, especially, you know, close angle tracking. I haven't experienced it yet, and I'm only familiar with this inside out tracking system, which will occasionally frustrate me. So hopefully the updates come to this device too. But again, you have to stop and say, well, if they significantly improved tracking, that means previously tracking was significantly worse. And personally, the tracking system, even though you're limited, I find it to be just so much better. Tracking is so much better. You never lose sight of the controllers, and it works great. And now the 2.0 tracking system isn't some type of huge upgrade. It does give you a much bigger range. Most people already don't have that much space. So the 1.0 system was good enough. But they have they're curved, so they cover a wider area. They have a greater distance. They boot up faster, and I keep looking up at one in case you're curious. And overall, I'm really happy that I actually got them. I didn't need them, but I went for the full package, and I'm happy I did. So to summarize everything, if you have a really high-end PC and you want enthusiast level VR, you want the best clarity, comfort, premium product, I personally believe this is it, and you will love it. But if your machine is just, minimum VR specs or just a little bit higher than that, or you just can't blow, $1,000 on VR, the Rift S will probably be it'll be good enough for you. It'll be, a great option. I have tried every VR product on the market, at least for a short period of time. These 3 products and the original Vive I have used extensively, and I cannot imagine using anything besides this right now. Does it live up to the price tag though? In my opinion, yes, but money is relative. A lot of people don't have $1,000 to blow. So in certain situations, I think an Oculus Quest or a Rift S would be a great option for you guys, and you don't actually need this. But it has cranked up my VR enthusiasm. I am playing so much more than I was playing with this, primarily due to clarity and comfort. And I don't want to go back, and this is a great step forward. I can't wait to see what comes out in the next 3 years. The next generation of VR. We're gonna hit the period right now of great games. Valve's VR games are coming out. I'm getting ready to be blown away. And then in another few years, it's just gonna be amazing what comes out. Overall, I feel like Valve nailed it. There's not much they can do to really get the price down on this product. We don't know what their profit margin is, but speculation out there and from statements from Valve, they're really not making much money on these products. I also feel like this is a great contrast to Facebook's approach. Facebook is trying to get as many people into VR as possible with products like the Quest and a cheaper VR option like the Rift S. And Valve is saying, no, let's get VR as good as it can be. Both companies are succeeding. They're making great products. So the future is bright, guys. If you wanted the premium product and you had any doubts about it, unless contrast and God rays are gonna bother you, you go with this. This thing is amazing. I'm loving it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you some information you haven't seen yet. You liked the overall comparison. And ultimately, I try and be as fair and honest. I will never be a fanboy. There is not one VR set that is perfect. There's a lot of people out there who say, no, I'll never buy a Rift S or a Quest because Facebook, and I understand that, privacy concerns, and if you don't like a company, like I will not get anything from Epic right now because of the shenanigans going on. So completely understandable. Other people will say, no, HTC is terrible, their support is the worst, and you're right, I've dealt with their support, and it can be horrendous. Other people will say, oh, Valve doesn't respond, they know there's defects in the product is overpriced, no, the index is super overrated. Personally, I don't feel that way, but I can understand frustration if you paid $1,000 for a product and you all of a sudden feel like yours is on fire, which some people are claiming. Or this super advanced controller is not tracking your fingers, or your hands are too big for it, or the thumbstick is driving you nuts. So I get it. So there's issues with all of them. And I guess it comes down to what you guys need and what you want, what your price level is. What are the most important features to you? That's where it is. Again, guys, I'm always going to try and be fair and honest, never be a fanboy, give my opinion no matter what the cost. And again, I hope you enjoy it. If you do like the content, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe, ding the bell so you get my new videos, and I will see you guys on next time.